Okay, you know the drill. Saturday, gotta make my runs. I don't like to waste time. So I am in the car. We're gonna do that carpool confession. This week's gonna be a little bit different. You know, I usually like to hustle and flow and, come up with something. I don't know what I'm gonna say this week. I'm cheating just a little, just a little. I had to do some notes because had three great YouTube folks I worked with this week. One, we actually closed on a house. We closed it in like record time, like 2.5 weeks. 2.5 weeks. In reality, it's like 3 weeks total from getting their pre-approval to actually closing, including looking for a house. And they were actually remote from 3 weeks from us doing a call, me helping them by remotely viewing houses. They're getting out of the military, from finding the house, putting it under contract to actually closing. So from putting it under contract to closing, it's like 2.5 weeks. Man, we worked that one. We're gonna talk about that one a little bit later. The big one today, and the reason I had to take some notes is because one of the people I worked with, out of the three, all of you guys from YouTube, he was like, you know what, it'd be great. I would love for you to make a video about what we did, because we went out searching for houses. They were from out of town and everything, and I really would love that. I'm like, you know what, your wish is my command, and we're gonna do it. And he actually goes, can you use my name? I'm like, what? I wanna be famous, I wanna be on YouTube. So, Greg, this is your video. I'm not gonna use his full name, I still have to give him some respect. So they came in out of another state, and it was him and his sister. His sister was gonna enjoy a birthday party, had more family come in, and it was a little bit of house hunting. He's gonna be retiring at the end of the year after 40 years of dedicated service to the Department of Defense. Not serving the military, but that is still great. 40 years serving our great country with the Department of Defense, and he's gonna retire to Las Vegas. And I'm gonna be working with him, help him out. Came out a little house hunting, and of course he wanted to buy a new home and wanted me to talk to you folks about, stuff that he went through. So, Greg, you get your video, and I'm going to talk to the folks because, there were some things that I'm not going to say happened, that we went through that I think you guys will be interested in. And then if we have enough time during a little hustle and flow here, I got some more little stuff I'd like to talk about, because this time I took a few little notes. It wasn't, I was driving, got on the highway, and then wasn't going to talk about. So today, we're going to talk about some new houses, just a little bit. And one of the things that we kind of covered, that's why I got my little notes down here. It's on my phone. That's why I had to get everything together. So I gave you some good information. Is we start with a Zoom because, he came into town, talked to, the timeshare. That's a whole different thing. With sales, I can tell you some stories about timeshares, but that's a different video. Oh, Cybertruck. Man, he's got a good one. Look at that. That wrap, black on top, y'all on the bottom, looks like a bumblebee. Man, what does he call it, bumblebee? Anyway, so we started talking and we're going over his stuff, so I'm not gonna use his numbers, and he's not a veteran, but you know me, I do a lot of VA, and it's just easy numbers, purely because there's no down payment. So as we're going over stuff, I was like, you realize, you're basing your numbers off of, what you can make your payments off of, right? It's like, well, yeah, I can make payments comfortably off of that number for a house. I'm like, well, you're looking for a new house, right? Well, when you got your pre-approval, they were basing those numbers off of the regular interest rates, right? So he's like, well, what do you mean? Okay, so I'll go over the numbers with him. Well, I'm just talking about today. Interest rates on a VA loan nationally, interest rates may vary because of different lenders, credit scores, and all that stuff. I'm not a lender. Let's say about 6.2%. And I'm going to use a nominal price for a house today, just so I could make this for the video, so these kind of make sense for you. If you're to go and buy a $450,000 house, we're not talking about a new house or a resale, just a house, $450,000, and using 6.2%. I'm not going to talk about taxes, anything else, and no HOAs. We're not worrying about any of that. We're just talking about the payment on the house. Your payment will be $2,756. Okay, that's your payment. VA loan, zero down, $450,000 house, 6.2%. Okay, well, when you buy a new build house, most, they buy down interest rates right now. So that's the beauty of it. And that's one of the reasons he was looking at. He's been looking at my videos. Now, they buy them down to different things. Now, we went to one particular builder right now for inventory homes. You know, they're talking like 3.99%. So using those same factors, if we're looking at 3.99%, what do you think that payment's gonna be? That payment is $2,146. What? OMG. Now, if you look at most builders around town, they average about, you know, and again, not a lender, it's different things. Some don't offer anything. We're gonna say about 4.99% right now. That payment, $2,413. That is less than that $2,700 and what I say, $56? You see what you're saving right there? That's right off rip. Now, let's go even further. Let's say that payment, you know, what I say, $2,756. Let's say that's kind of comfortable for you. Okay, I'm comfortable. I was, you know, choosing $450 because I was comfortable with that payment. Okay, let's say you get down to, you know, Builder X, they're offering $399 for inventory homes. We're just looking at that. You can afford a $578,000 house for the same payment. I'm looking at you, my glasses, these are the Ultra Darks from the VA. I don't know if you can see my eyes. You know there is a huge difference between a $450,000 house and a $578,000 house, right? Okay, well, let's talk about that 4.99%. That is $514,000. Dang. And these people just passing me and I'm actually speeding. I'm doxing myself here. People in Vegas, man. Look at this one coming up behind me like a banshee and I'm over the speed. Woo! And this one passing me. I'm like 10 miles an hour. Oops, I'm doxing myself. Yeah, and look what you're getting. And that's what we talked about. And then like we went to one of the builders, you know, the agent, it was like only one of the builders, the agent like kind of pulled this out showing like what he was saving. And he was like, oh, my realtor went through all of this with me. Builder looked, the side agent looked at me, you went through all this stuff with him? I'm like, yeah, this is like common stuff. And then all of a sudden I realized I would talk to you guys about the lower interest rates and I'd never like put it down like this. I never laid it down. Now, I always talk about, you know, interest rates and down, how they'll pay closing costs and stuff, but I never like put it in real numbers like that. So yeah, there it is in real numbers, what you get when they do that. Now, next, you're gonna have all these agents go like, oh, but you gotta pay so much more for the house. No, no. That is like old school thinking, one. And two, they making stuff up for themselves. Go look at the actual numbers. I actually saw some numbers from a bill. I'm gonna say the name. It was Beezer. We didn't see a Beezer for this particular, for Greg here. Well, the other one that I worked with this week, we actually did see Beezer. It's so interesting. Beezer was breaking down some numbers for me the other week because they have a new realtor program. I ain't gonna lie about it. I'm in the new realtor program. So I don't know. I mean, we don't get anything extra really. It's just, you know, they sit around, educate us and everything. They were showing that in the same community and the surrounding areas, check this out, the houses were actually like, they showed the Beezer house and a home nearby, right? The home in the Beezer community was on the same size lot, was brand new, was actually $10,000 cheaper than the competing house on the market that was 20 years old and unupgraded. I'm looking at you again. I'm wearing these super darks from VA. So you're gonna buy a house that's 20 years older, that's $10,000 more expensive and pay a higher interest rate. I mean, that's up to you. That's why we live in a country called freedom. So when agents say that stuff, it's because they're listing agents and their clients are ticked off because they don't wanna do all of this and they are losing out to the new builds. Because the new bills, they're coming for blood. So yeah, other things we went over, we went to some communities and, you know, he wanted to look at Trilogy. So I'll talk about Trilogy, got some videos coming out. I don't know when they're gonna hit because just by doing these Carpool Confessions, not wasting my time, you know, it takes up a lot. And the Trilogy videos and some others are already recorded. They're just sitting in the box waiting to get released. You know, these just get released, you know. I think they're like valuable to you folks, I hope. But you know, what killed him on Trilogy, man, he went and he saw the lifestyle. He loved the lifestyle. And then, like he said it, they killed him on one thing. You know what that one thing was? The HOA. He was worried, you know, like when I picked him up down the strip, it was like, you know, I just don't want to be paying like these high HOAs. Yeah, well, they had high HOAs. To be honest, the ones on the single families were not as high as, you know, he was talking about. So the single families, they were like $375 a month, which, you know, that is kind of high for Vegas, to be honest. But you get all these amenities. If you look at the Trilogy videos when they come out, you'll see what I'm talking about with the amenities. Just so many amenities, so much stuff to do there. But you know, he didn't like that. You got the little duplexes. They were like $550, and then you got the condos there. Man, they were like over $700. So yeah, he really didn't like that. Yeah, so he didn't go for Trilogy. Then we saw some ones at KB Homes. Well, let me go on back to Trilogy for a second. So, you know, I've been talking about, you know, they're making better offers and, you know, you're getting better deals. So, yeah, talk about that. You know, he did ask, you know, like, you know, whether or not we could do a little bit more bargaining. They offered $20,000, you know, for whatever he wanted for either upgrades or for, you know, closing costs, whatever he wanted to apply it to. And it's like, you know, that's all they're offering because they are, you know, they're not having issues selling the houses right now. When builders are offering super great stuff, it's because they're having some kind of an issue. It's kind of like one builder, I'm gonna go ahead and mention them because they've actually invited me out to record. I hope this doesn't stop them from doing that. It's Lennar. It's a good builder, it's a great builder. The issue is during times of plenty, they don't pay commissions. During times of not plenty, they pay commissions. And it really ticks a lot of agents off. And yeah, so Trilogy's always paid a commission. It's not a big deal. It's just that they are having a good time right now. So they're not, you know, they're doing good. They're giving $20,000, but that is $20,000 that, you know, if you think about 5-6 years ago, they didn't give. So they're still doing something. At least they're doing something. Next one we went to was KB Homes. KB Homes did okay, but it's not as good. This was a community that I've done a video on here. It's the one up in Sky Canyon. Now, when I did it up there, I think they offered like either $20,000 or $30,000, but now they're offering like a total of $8,000. I couldn't believe it. And most of their stuff is, you know, built from the ground up. But I'm like, man, well, what happened to all that money you were given before? You know, I guess they're selling enough because, you know, like I said, times are plenty, you give less. Then we went to Pointe, had some townhomes. Really like the townhomes. With the townhomes, they were doing pretty good on them. The HOAs were reasonable. Going back to KB, HOA was only $75. For Pointe, it was $152, I believe, which is really good for townhomes. Unbelievable. And there, they actually had like pools and everything, and they shared a community with single family. The homes there are like $800,000. They had some of the ones had like mountain views and all kinds of cool stuff. So everything was right. I don't know if he's gonna pull the trigger on those. That's not the point of this video. It's, you know, just talking about that trip and talking about when you can get the best bargains. You're always gonna get the best bargain on a house that is in production or a house that's already complete. And the closer it is completion is the best bargain you're ever gonna get. So when we talk about, yeah, you can get great bargains on those new houses, those are the ones you're gonna get the best bargains on. Those are the ones where you could save in like, you know, that $50,000, $100,000. That's like, you know, where it really comes in. Now we finished with Greg. I'm just gonna talk about the second couple. This is one I have never seen before. Had the other couple from YouTube come out. They actually got on the interest list for another house that's gonna be completed. Hopefully by the time they're gonna be moving here. They actually came down for their stuff. We had, you know, talked before. They came out to look for a place, but you know, they're not moving until end of the year. Same as with Greg. And so fortunately they found a place that should be complete by the time that they're moving here. So fingers crossed for them. But one of the communities was interesting that, it was actually a Lennar, nothing wrong with Lennar again, like I said, but I found it interesting. Online, it showed that, you know, they were selling homes. went there and you couldn't get access. I'm like, what in the world? So I called up Lennar. It's like, oh yeah, we don't have any homes there. You know, it's closed off right now. It's like, the signs and online, it says you're selling homes. They're like, yes, we're selling homes. What? What do you mean you're selling homes? You can't get in. Oh, you have to go down to this other community and look at the homes there. Shouldn't there be a sign somewhere? Shouldn't there be something on your site? Shouldn't there be something in New Home Source that says you got to go to another community to see the homes? I mean, I don't know. That was just weird to me, just weird. And again, you know, just the timelines when you're talking about that, you know, the differences between, you know, a home that's built from the ground, you know, sticks, dirt, boom, home, and, you know, spec homes. You know, people ask those questions. When you do the spec homes, that's where you save the money, especially now, because, you know, they sunk their money into that. When you build it from the ground, right now, they still are giving you some little discounts. They're just not as big a discounts as you're getting, you know, when they do the spec homes, because they save money on the spec homes and you don't get to customize. So that answers that question, hopefully, for some folks, because, you know, they're taking more of a risk and you actually get the reward for their risk. And I'm definitely not going to get those limited edition egg rolls that were jalapeno poppers. They were horrible. They need to stay limited. Okay, now finally is the last little YouTube couple. They were so freaking awesome. Great, great couple. This is the one I talked about where we finished up in like 3 weeks from getting their pre-approval to closing. Couldn't believe it. 3 weeks, went and searched homes with them virtually. You know, did, you know, like Zooms over the phone and everything, did everything virtually. Oh my goodness, they love that house. Anyway, it was the agent on the other side. And here's the thing, you know them hustlers, how much I hate salespeople and hustlers? The other agent was nothing but a hustler. And I hate hustlers, hate them. And here's what happened. So there's paperwork we got to do, you know, legal stuff. And one of the things we got to do is order up this HOA package. And it's got to be ordered by the listing agent or, you know, the seller. In the law, the actual law, it says that the buyer cannot pay for it, period, dot, end of story. And it has timelines in which stuff has to be done. Timelines. Has to be ordered within 2 days of offer acceptance, and the HOA has to deliver it within 10 days of ordering. Now, when did I say we closed this? 2.5 weeks from everything. So let me do my mathefications here. 2.5 weeks is greater than 2 weeks. 10 plus 2 is 12 days. Oh yeah, so we should have had the HOA package. A week prior, I kept asking for the HOA package over and over again. And then the other agents like, oh, the title company ordered the HOA package. Okay, ask again, where's this HOA package? We need this to close. Title companies ordered the HOA package. Then their TC would say something about the demand. I'm like, I'm not asking about the demand. I'm asking about the HOA package. What does that have to do with the HOA package? You keep talking about the demand. I'm sitting there asking direct real estate questions. It got to a point where it's like, and you ordered the resale package. Yes, it was ordered by the title company. And then at some point she goes, just reach out to the title company. I reach out to the dang title company and they're like, we don't order those, which most of them don't. And then it's like, and it's right here in the opening package that we don't order those. Send a copy of it. And the instructions that were sent over that they don't order it. And I got a look, he's like, yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, well, I'm not the listing agent. That's ordered by the listing agent. And you're telling me, you know, sending this stuff over where you said, you know, this, that, and a third. I'm like, I'm not. She's like, well, I know you're not the listing agent. It's like, well, I know you know I'm not the listing agent, but you're sending this to me. It's like, does the listing agent know that you didn't order it? And it just goes back and forth and it just keeps going. And at some point, as you can tell through everything, the person didn't know the difference. But this is where it gets worse. They called me up and then tried to start finessing me, going, well, we're closing early. The contract says we're closing at the end of the month. Okay, today is the 9th. We closed on the 8th. Well, we're closing early. It doesn't matter. The contract actually says on or before. Kept saying, well, we're not supposed to close until this date. It's an empty house, an empty house. If you were a seller and you had an empty house in this day and age, and you know what the market is doing right now, would you want that house closed in case something happened? Most people would. But this is where it gets bad. I mean, you should have known everything, because I don't want to get into what that person was paid. Let's just say it was a low commission. I call this person the Temu Realtor. This is what you get for working with the Temu Realtor. So anyway, I mean, it was just bad because the seller just wanted to do everything super cheap. They actually, when it came time for like the inspection, it was like, oh, all of the utilities are off. Utilities are off? You know, the law actually says you're required to have all the utilities on during the listing period. It's actually in like the law, and it's actually in your contract. It's like, the seller didn't want to pay utilities and have extra cost. And then it was like the point where, okay, utilities getting cut on. Well, can you delay the inspection in case the utilities aren't on? Because the seller's afraid that if, a utility's not on, that they may be on the hook for a re-inspection. I mean, it was just all this crap, working with these Temu realtors and these cheap people, and that's what they get. So anyway, that's, the gist of it. But, I was thinking, because I got to come to this, I was on this big worldwide AI 2-day thing, so I got to be here for the, my Saturday stuff. But I was thinking about it, AI really is changing the game, because I'm trying to, right now I could be like searching for houses for this guy. He's actually came from YouTube too. And like these people that want, it's okay, it's okay if there's carpet upstairs, but I don't want any carpet downstairs, and I want this, not. A lot of this stuff is not in MLS. And when you're saying that stuff, the only way someone can do that is to search through every picture. If there's thousands of houses, it's impossible. But now AI, as we advance, we get into things like agentic AI, at the very least, some of that can work. And fortunately, with me working in a lot of that stuff, I can get to that stuff. So we'll see what happens, man. I'm about to pull up to the thing here. Hopefully this guy I can flow through. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be able to flow through. Oh good. I hate having to like pull in front of people and do this thing. Last week, I have a dash cam. I hope I didn't override it. I almost want to like put this guy on blast, but I didn't. I was like at the second pump. The first one, somebody like flowed out, and I was getting ready to get in my car and like flow out, and like everyone could like flow. And the guy just, you could see I was putting my stuff away. The guy just flows up, just like goes around everyone, like does one of those back end maneuvers so they can get their stuff. I mean, so he can get his gas. But this is where it gets real weird. Now look back and I realize there's a line of 3 cars behind me. So he just drove around everyone and did that. And I look back and I see the guy, and I look back and there's a woman, and she's like, and I'm like, look at her like this, and I just mouth. And she just mouths it back. It's like, yeah. I couldn't believe this stuff. Anyway, let me get out here and get this gas. You guys know the drill for my military brothers and sisters. Alpha Mike Foxtrot. All the rest of you folks, I love you. I'm gonna keep them lights on for you. All that information's down below in the pinned comments. Next video that pops up, you know what to do. I'm gonna meet you in the next video.